Hi, this is the Burton Mr. Max tabletop burner. And you're going to ask, what is it doing here? Well, being that I have a stove that hasn't been completely dependable and ended up without cooking, I really need to have it here. It's an emergency item. And the funny thing about it is, I actually ordered it 6 hours before my stove broke, before the pilot light went out and the gas leaked. So it was really funny. That afternoon I ordered it, and that night my stove broke. And the reason I ordered it is because where I live now, I can't depend on anything in here working. I can't depend on anything at all. I live in a city where the gas is controlled by the city, not the Public Utilities Commission. So if they feel like turning the gas off to work on something, you'll be with no gas, no heat, no cooking, no nothing. For those who have electricity, if the power goes out and everything's on electricity, you're not going to have anything to cook with either. So basically, what this is for, it's for emergencies. It's not that I'm running a restaurant or going to be working at Benihana's and be cooking at the table. It's for emergencies here at home, so I can boil some water and cook a warm meal, cook some stuff. You never know. I mean, it's really a necessity to have something to boil water. If it wasn't a necessity, people wouldn't take camp stoves camping. People wouldn't be, storing up on rocket stoves and fuel. So I thought this was like a reasonable, inexpensive. It was about as cheap as I could find, and I was able to get it. And then the fuel, because that way at least I know if they shut my gas off or something goes really wrong, I'm still going to have a way to, cook and warm water. Because believe me, if you're stuck and it's a bad situation, you end up eating through all the food you can't cook. But what about all those cans of food? What about all those things you can cook? What about in a power outage when, your refrigerator is only going to keep that food for so long? That's the food that you should cook first. So basically what this is for, it's an emergency stove. It's for, any type of crisis. And number two, if I ever do want to go camping, which I'm not really able to do right now, I could, camp. And what I got the stove and the fuel sent. This is the fuel, just kind of a cheap gas 1 butane fuel. I didn't really like the reviews for the gas 1 stove, so I kind of went with a different stove, but it took the cheaper gas 1 fuel. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the cap off, and you're going to expose this. Then what you're going to do is open the fuel cartridge. I mean, it's really easy. I was kind of panicking, like, oh my god, I guess, how am I going to do this? Load the cartridges and all that. It's really pretty simple. You just slide it in. To the slot. Okay, now it's in there. And you have it, matching the notch. And make sure the notch matches so that snaps in. And then you close this. It's not going to light when you do that, but when you push the lock lever down, that will lock the fuel canister in place. So it's locked, it's ready to go, and the lever pulls up on it, and so it's ready to disperse fuel. And one thing I forgot to mention, which can't really do now because the fuel's in there. Before you turn it on, you want to just turn it all the way on, like I'm going to do now, real quick, just to make sure the spark lights, and then you can put the fuel cartridge in. So what I'm going to do is turn it on. I'm going to turn it all the way and have it click. And there you go. Fire. Fire, dinner, hot food. And of course you don't have to leave the burner up that high. You can turn it down. It's got a real good control level here. It's got a really good, so I mean if you want to like cook oatmeal or something like rice, the kind of thing that'll stick to the pan, it will work on this low level, and you won't be boiling over or crusting things to the pan. But then on the other hand, if you want to do like some eggs, you've got this, or if you want to boil water, you've got this, or a bigger pan, maybe full of spaghetti or something, you've got that. And then to turn it off, you just turn it to the off position. To remove the fuel, you unlock it, and then you open the cover, remove the fuel, and you don't want to store the fuel with it. You're going to remove the fuel, put the cap back on it, and store the fuel away and this away, and when a bad day comes or something happens and there's an emergency, you will have cooking. And I have to say this is a little bit better choice. I looked at what choices were out there, like camp stoves and stuff, and you just can't really use a camp stove in an emergency unless you're like going to cook out on your porch or something. They do use these little burners in Benihana, even though it says in the instructions not for indoor use, but people use them in restaurants. And like if you go into what's that store, the pots and pans cooking store in the mall, a lot of the malls have, and they do the demonstrations there. They use them for that. I think in the past I actually used one in a store once to do a demonstration. So all the demonstrators use it. So I mean, it's a little bit better. Butane burns much cleaner than propane or your other gases. And you know, it's just enough to heat a meal. You're not going to leave it on all day. And from what the instructions say, it will stay lit. You know, you can use it for about an hour, and nobody really, if you're going to cook pasta or cook a meal, I don't think you're going to have it on near that long. So far I haven't really cooked anything on it, had an emergency, but I've tried it out, and this one's a winner because the flame goes up and down. You have a lot of control over it. It's got a pretty good flame and a pretty low flame, so from high to low. So I think this is a winner. And the other advantage to it, let me go get it. This stove is small and it's easy to pack away, and it comes with a case, a storage case that you put the stove in, and then you can, you know, basically, you know, pack it away. It's easy to store. So with all that advantage, that's what you need, something easy to store, especially if you're going to be living tiny. Because you never know, like in a trailer or something, if, you know, like let's say your propane delivery doesn't make it and your tank runs empty, at least you have this in an emergency. You've always got to have emergency stuff. I can't speak enough of it. I knew that when I ordered it. I just didn't expect the emergency to come before the stove did. But being that this place that I live, everything that in it is so unpredictable and constantly breaking, I'm sure I'm going to have plenty of chance to try it out, even if I don't stay much longer. I'm sure I'm going to have a chance to use it where I'm going to need it. So that's it for that. If you like this video, please comment on it or hit like, subscribe, and thank you for watching, and have a great evening.